Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besige.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Our viewers, I salute you all, of course, for keeping it live, Alternative Digitalk, and also Alternative Uganda social media handles. That's Alternative Uganda Facebook page, also on Digitalk TV, and later alone, the very show will be on our YouTube channel. So those are 3-in-1 media channels where we stream all our shows and content. I have said the Alternative Uganda Facebook page, Digitalk TV Facebook page, YouTube channel, the Alternative Uganda. So those are 3 media channels where we stream. Every when, of course, we have such content and important people with very wonderful opinions to give and or share with what is happening in this country. My name is Norman Tumhimbise. Again today, we are with Justice Kanyeihamba, and he has a lot to share, but before he shares that a lot, he has to first say hello to our viewers. And then
Hello, viewers. I'm
you're
very
smart in
pleased to be
blue.
with you.
You're smart in blue. I don't know whether you want to also contest for FDC leadership, so because there are so
I can comment on that.
there are so many quarrels there, but we shall reach there later on.
I think these days in Uganda, it is the quarrels we deal with.
Everywhere there are quarrels.
Justice has gone out of the window, as I'm going to show you. We no longer have any courts with guts to administer justice as should be. These ones who decided the case of Kanyeihamba 320 other Banyakigezi versus Nzei, I think they have gone crazy. I have never, in my entire life, read the judgment like I have given you. I'm going to circulate it to all concerned. I'll send a copy to the President of Uganda, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, and let them help us get our bank. Our bank.
You
Back.
want your bank back.
Back. Yes. Kigezi Bank of Commerce.
Okay, our viewers, as you have heard, there are lots of things because we had taken quite some time without having Justice Kanyahamba, and we're glad he's with us. Now, I think with our viewers, you may consider giving them a precise reason or this background for which you went to court that time, and to now dive us into, because literally, in your view, the injustices in this case seem to be 2 types of injustices, because the court of the first instance dismissed your case, a reason for which you had to appeal. Maybe when you give us a preamble of what happened in the High Court, it drives us into the Court of Appeal, where now, of course, you are dissatisfied with both the decision of the High Court and the decision of the Court of Appeal, and also maybe later on as we move along on whether you will even appeal now to the Supreme Court.
No, we shall definitely appeal.
Okay.
Immediately you leave here, you know I am senior counsel.
You're expeditious in
I will be
drafting
drafting my appeal immediately against this
decision
is
of
a scandalous judgment. It's just I cannot see people who are on it.
yeah, we shall reach there, Prof.
They seem to be mad.
Yeah. So give us a preamble. You went to High Court in the first
No,
place.
before we went to the High Court, Kigezi is one of the poorest districts in this country.
Sub-region? You want to consider it as a sub-region? Kigezi.
It's sub-region.
Yeah.
The Kigezi sub-region consisting of Ruchiga, Kabale, Kisoro, Rukunjiri,
Kanungu,
that is Kanungu,
Chihihi, Chisizi. It's
Chihihi. Chihihi. That is sub-region. It is a combination of two major tribes, the Bachiga and the Banyankole.
What about Bahororo? How do you... what about the Bahororo?
I say major.
Major.
The Bahororo are not a major.
Bachiga and Banyankole.
Yeah. We also have Bahororo. We have Banyarwanda. We have Batwa. And we have Banyachihihi, Batumbi, Banyabutumbi. All those are people of Kigezi region. And we've been living together for centuries. We intermarry. The Bachiga and Banyankole actually are deemed in the constitution to have one language, the Runyankole Ruchiga. Because hardly there is no difference in their culture or their language or customs. These are the people of Kigezi.
Indigenous.
If we want to know more about them, Banyakigezi, Museveni himself is a Munyakigezi. Our president is a Munyakigezi, hailing from, rather from Ankole. His clan is Abasita, Bakigezi. You read his book, even the revised one, which now he himself edits, President Museveni says he's a Musita of Kigezi.
Yes.
So that one we ended there. Now, having said that,
Having
we had, sorry?
a second. So that gives you the background for which, having considered Kigezi sub-region as one of the poorest at a time, that's what
Yes.
informed you to found a bank, which you even mentioned.
Thank you.
Okay.
Then Banyakigezi also founded what they call the Banyakigezi community, which includes all those tribes, Banyarwanda, Bachiga, Batwa, Bahororo, and Banyamulenge. We didn't have Banyamulenge there. So the first inaugural meeting were addressed by the late great scientist who died, Abel Wendeide. I also was asked to contribute some opinions, which I did. But most importantly, the greatest contributor at that meeting was Professor Ezra Suruma, who is now the president, rather the chair, the vice, the what do you call him? The chancellor of University of Makerere. He's still there, he's still alive. We also had the former governor, Mutebile of the Bank of Uganda. He was very influential in forming the Kigezi Community Association.
That's before the bank.
Yeah, because of the bank.
Before the bank.
Before the Kigezi Bank of Commerce. So what Suruma and Edel Wenderi, who was essentially, convinced us, he said, we need a regional bank of Kigezi,
In particular.
because that's one of the reasons we are poor. Our people don't know how to bank. Many of ours have businesses in Kampala, in Mbarara, elsewhere, but not in Kigezi. So in order to attract them to come here, do business with us, we should found a bank. And that bank should never leave. That's the most important. The Kigezi region. We put there a mechanism. I am the one who drafted the memorandum and the articles of the bank. It should never leave Kigezi. It should never be controlled by somebody,
Who is not coming
even if he's from Kigezi. It should always never have a majority saying we control the bank. All that is our mandate for us. I was a director. Our chairman was one of the most successful businessmen from Kigezi. He was called Amos Nzei. Amos Nzei, that name should be remembered and cast forever in the region of Kigezi because of what he has done. Then we had directors like Ruhakana Rugunda, the big shots from Kigezi. One of our biggest shareholders was Jimmy Muhwezi, who is now a minister in the current government. We had our lady who used to sign the checks of the bank notes of Uganda, Janet Kaheihamba. The old notes, I don't know if they are still there. Her name is there. As the signatory, she was one of our founders of Kigezi Bank of Commerce. And we thought we would never be the Bank of Uganda, which they had called Tefe, but it died. Yes. Again, these crooks were in it when it died. Uganda, they are very peaceful people.
When you say crooks, who are those crooks in your view?
People like Nzei.
So the Nzeis of Uganda also collapsed the Tefe.
Yes, because they are connected. Now, having said that, I am the one, Suruma and Ruhakana Rugunda and Mbabazi, who put this one there. But the majority owners of Kigezi Bank of Commerce will always be the Kigezi. But there will never be one individual or two who own majority shareholders. That is, you can get a copy of our a memorandum of articles from the banking section of the government. That's what it says. When you read this judgment,
before we reach there, how did now the sagas now? How do you end up in?
Then they took a trip to Kenya. Met there three brothers owning a bank in Kenya. And then he said, we would like you to invest. That's Nzei. He doesn't know the law. I think he finished P2 or P3, I can't remember. But he's very good at making money and at cheating, as I'm going to show you. He used to be a friend of mine. He has ever visited me here. I visited him several times, but he's a cheat. That's how you could describe him. And he's very good at it. I will not tell you his connections, but I'll tell you what he does. Now,
so he goes to Nairobi.
Meets there some Indian, rather Kenyans who are of Indian origin, called the Gomadale brothers. And he said, I own a bank.
I, not we.
No, I own a bank with three friends. Those friends were Ruhakana Rugunda and Mbabas. Because once, and they said,
Big shot.
one of them is Prime Minister.
Yeah, at the time, 2014, yeah.
Another one
He's a minister.
is our biggest man at the UN. I remember Ruhakana Rugunda had been.
He had been, I think, Uganda's
That's
permanent representative in UN.
right. So the Kenyans said, "Oh, for us, we want to buy a bank. We don't want to invest in a bank.
Want to buy.
We want to buy." So they say, the three of us, we can sell it to you, no problem. Telling lies, lying, and betraying all the Banyakigezi. Say, you have betrayed your people. You are born in Kabale, the center of Kigezi, but you have betrayed your people. You have betrayed us, Nzei.
I say the entire sub-region.
So, having done that, the Indian amended our
Articles and
constitution. The constitution of Kigezi Bank was amended in Nairobi by two Kenyans
with the
to say the shareholders have agreed to privatize Kigezi Bank of Commerce. It was a public company. So it was made private in Kenya, Nairobi. None of us was there. You can ask Ruhakana Rugunda, you can ask Mbabazi, you can ask Bishop Kayeye. He was a shareholder for Kigezi Diocese. None was consulted.
How do you find out that your bank has been sold?
No, they came here
The Kenyans.
with Nzei. So Nzei said, I have brought these friends of ours.
Investors.
Yes. And they want to invest in Kigezi Bank of Commerce. I was there. I said, they can't. These are Kenyans. And they are aliens. So our constitution prohibits them from investing in this bank. I was overruled. We were about 12. Kigezi Bank of Commerce is owned by over 2,000. Bachiga, Banyankole, Banyarwanda, and I think one or two Batwa. So we were over, they paid money, millions to those people who wanted to support him. Ruhakana Rugunda was away. I think even Mbabazi was away. He said, our Prime Minister and our big man at the UN, they are supporting me. We say, where is their evidence? He said, they did it by phone. And the Ugandans, we are, when you say this is a president,
They don't question.
by the way, did any Ugandan know? You may even not know. I have defeated President Museveni in the courts of law 3 times. But that is a secret among the NRD. When they have had this, they are all very, very upset. The Kanyahamba should reveal such a secret that has defeated the president of Uganda. The only one many people know in history, we don't know any, in the courts of law. To defeat a sitting president in a lawsuit, you must have some knowledge of law. As I'm going to tell you. Now, having finished that, go back. They, with a few illiterate members, see, that bank, Kagezi Bank, was owned by Magombo sub-counties, municipalities, religious orders of Kabale, because it was a God-sent thing that we had brought banking in the villages. So Bishop Katuyere, the Diocese of Kigezi, represented by Bishop Kayeye, and Ruchirande was the shareholder, the Bishop of Kabale, of Kigezi, Harebemana, the Bishop of the Catholics of Kabale, his people were shareholders. By this bank saying we didn't win the case, they have ruined millions of people in the region of Kabale. And in the name of God, I curse them. Can you call me, who are the judges?
They are three, but I wanted to ask some questions before we reach there.
Yes.
And one of the questions is, which reasons did they give you, okay, was trying to convince you that it was high time you sold the bank to the Kenyan brothers?
Me, Kayeye, and the other 69 shareholders, we immediately opposed. Me on legal ground that this bank, you can't sell it to foreigners.
The community bank. It was,
yes. Secondly, we wanted to help our region develop, Kigezi, not Kenya. There is no other Kenya in our bank. So many people oppose, including me, Professor Suruma, Ezra, Dr. He's now the late, Engineer Baraba. We were so many. But they said, I am a friend of the president. We work for the president. The president wants this bank in the next election to help him with elections. And secondly, our Prime Minister Wakana Rugunda, rather Mbabazi, is for it, to save. So is Wakana. They were not there. So we said, where are their letters confirming? And he said, no, they ordered this on telephone. I have since discovered Wakana Rugunda was not involved at all. And then, you know, politicians. They had a great influence in the region of Kigezi. So I think Mbabazi just trusted him. But they were just giving their names without them participating in the crucial decisions to privatize Kigezi Bank of Commerce because it was illegal.
Another key question here. In your submission, you say that Mbabazi and Ruhakana Rugunda, most likely, they weren't a party towards the sale.
Mbabazi put them there.
But
he was paying there for their shares. In my opinion, without them knowing, except that Mbabazi knew. But Mbabazi thought he was dealing with a straightforward Munyakigezi. He didn't say he was dealing with a crook.
A question, Prof. Did you consult Honorable Mbabazi and Honorable Rugunda before you sold them alongside Nzei?
Why do you, before you did what?
Because here, I mean, on this ruling, you literally, it is Justice Kanyahamba and 320 others.
Including Ruhakana Rugunda, because he was a shareholder. But remember, at that time, what is his name? Mbabazi was on the other side. We thought he was with Nzei. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you ran to High Court.
Yes.
In summary, what happened in High Court? Because this
in the High Court,
in 2000,
we got one ruling
from
Justice Chidabwide. He was then the head of the commercial court where we appeared. And he condemned Nzeye, Wakana Rugunda, and Mbabazi for stealing small savings from the poor and the unable people of Kigezi. He summoned, it is in the judgment, those people to appear under the chairmanship of the Bank of Uganda and appoint new directors who are qualified. Remember, they had sent this away. The first resolution the Kenyans demanded said, we only want Wakana Rugunda, Mbabazi, and the Yunzei, and Dr. Sum, I think, to be members of the board. The Kanyahamba, we are 11. The Kanyahambas and others which we don't know, they are hereby dismissed. I was dismissed. I was the legal draftsman with Katera and the Kagumiri of Kigezi Bank of Commerce, because they were also from Kigezi. And they did us a favor and did help me to make the memorandum and the articles of association freely. They were also dismissed. So only those politicians and the crook were allowed to stay in the bank. And they also said, although our brother, because we are now the majority shareholders, will be the chairman, we don't want him to be the chair. We want Nzei. Nzei who has got access to the president, to the prime minister, to the right honorable man of your man at the UN to be the chairman. So they confirmed, they didn't dismiss him, that Nzei, I think, is one of the least uneducated on the board of Kigezi Bank. He became the chairman. And from then on, he makes resolutions
on behalf of
without any meetings. This judgment, I am going to write to this to the president of the Uganda Law Society. It must cause a commission to be set up, and they inquire into how this bank became the plaything of Mr. Nzei when there were so many Kigezi shareholders and board members. Among the board members, we had the late engineer Baraba, Dr. Surma, Dr. Wendele was a director of Kigezi Bank of Commerce, so was Kanyeihamba, so was Bishop of Kunjiri, I forget his name, and so many others. And yet, the chairman and the controller of everything was none other than a secondary school dropout by the name of Amos Nzei, who happens to make money. As you can see, I'm in a wheelchair. All other directors have come to say to me, hello. Nzei, when his daughter was getting married, or his son, he had my house in the Kabbalah, next door to his hotel called White House Inn, which he bought. He has never paid me. He owes me, all his visitors stayed there, and others, and he said he will give me 20 million. Up to now, he has never paid. Ask him. Because you are a journalist, you ask him, is it true that you use the Kanyehamba's house next door to your hotel and you have never paid him the 20 million?
Okay, we go to the grounds of appeal, and you had 5 grounds of appeal.
Yes.
Then, I think we shall, let alone as we move along, discuss, of course, the justice delayed, because as far as this entire court document is concerned, the case is civil suit number 361 of 2010.
That's right.
That is close to 13 years.
That's right.
But we shall reach there.
So,
one of
just
the,
you are trying to say,
that case
just
was
delayed is just denied. You are
definitely
right.
13 years, but we shall reach there as we move along. And one of the grounds of appeal, you argued that the court had erred in law and fact when that's the Justice Kyagulanyi, is it the one who was in High Court at the time?
Yes.
Yeah, Kyagulanyi erred in fact, in law and in fact, when he failed to evaluate to evaluate or properly evaluate the evidence on record, thereby reaching wrong conclusion.
No. That's not Kyagulanyi. The one who is Mangutse there is another name. The one who gave the court.
These are grounds of appeal.
No, what I'm saying, there were 2 judges who held it. So it is not Kyagulanyi. Actually, Kyagulanyi was very strong in our favor. I told you, he ordered Mbabasi and then say to go to cover a meeting on his orders and explain how such important people in Kabali stole the little money of small investors in the Kigezi Bank of Commerce, who included the teachers, artisans, and were earning about 20,000 or whatever it is. But when they realized that he was losing the case, he influenced the powers that be to transfer Justice Jeffrey immediately.
Before the ruling.
And they made him, because of his ruling, and they made Jeffrey Shirabine a judge of the Supreme Court, or rather of the Court of Appeal, and a judge of the African Court of Justice.
Having sensed that things would move his way.
In fact, Shirabine, who didn't know much what was going on politically, he called me and said, "Professor, don't worry. I am going to another court, but I'll make sure that my successor is very well briefed." So he briefed that one. That one, from day one, adopted the rulings and findings of Justice Shirabine. And we shall have, when we go to the court of the Supreme Court, where we are certainly going, unless they do something now, we shall get an affidavit from him.
Okay.
Supporting our case. So what I'm saying, now you can read the first 2 pages of our grounds and how the judge accepts that ruling, the judges in this I don't know, it is an equitous judgment. It should be condemned worldwide. This judgment, if I was Museveni, I would suspend these 3 judges immediately, including the man who was my friend.
Deputy.
When I was Minister of Justice and Attorney General, the Deputy Chief of Justice, Butera, was my DPP. We used to dine together regularly. He briefing me how the state of criminality is in Uganda. Oh, Butera. Butera. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Ground it.
Really? Can you be a party to this judgment?
Ground 2 is that the land judge disagreed.
That is Mwangutusi.
You mean Mwangutusi?
Yeah, because when they promoted suddenly, they promoted the Chiriabwile, they used his influence with the powers that be to replace him with his friend. I don't know whether he's corrupt, but he's certainly, he didn't read the case at all. And he's called Mwangutusi.
There's Mwangutusi, Justice
Yes,
Mwangutusi.
he was replaced. He replaced Chiriabwile,
okay.
the one who was impartial, fair, and principled. That man, when he came in, he adopted the notes of Justice Chiriabwile, and we were very happy that we were going to win this case very easily. Then Nzei's dirty tricks seem to have caught with this new judge, Nangutsa. Suddenly in his judgment, you can read it again. He said, we, the Sulmas,
The applicant.
Jim Mwezi, all the churches, he said, we never proved that we had lost anything.
Yeah, that's because
It is there.
Yeah, here even
That tells you how stupid and wicked this judgment is. If Museveni himself doesn't denounce it and suspend these judges who are party to it, then in Uganda you don't have any justice anymore, says Kanyahamba. By the way, does anybody know why the Lord God, our Maker, has kept me going when many of my colleagues have gone? He wanted me to expose this ferocity, this injustice by these three judges. I am ashamed to say one of them is from Kigezi. The one who gave the lead judgment is from Kigezi. What is his name?
there is
Gajabu or something.
there is Christopher Gashiravaki.
That's the one. Instead of holding for the Kigezi, he's holding a judgment in favor of foreigners. I have complained before that in Uganda, our system seems to favor foreigners. There are many cases like that, but let me not to go to that one. So what happened? Nzei. Now, you said you read the first 2 pages. Let your listeners listen. Is that where, when they read the illegalities at the beginning
You
of
mean
Nzei selling the bank?
you mean I read the first 2 pages of the judgment of this ruling of
Yes,
Court of
please.
Appeal?
Yes, please.
Of course, it's Justice Kanyehamba and 320 others were the appellants. Of course, versus Amos Nzei as respondent number 1.
Only because the others we had settled up. Because
And
they are
actually-
putting them there
Because
in
had
order
appeared in
to
the-
justify their judgment that there was also
Big people, the big
there
shots.
was Mbabazi. We had already settled out of.
Then,
for them, they agreed to settle out of court.
also the respondent is also the Attorney General
Yeah, that's right.
and
He never appeared once.
and the National Bank of Commerce.
That's why. That one, you can see, was represented when they are not putting there. But they had already sold it for $20,000, $20 million dollars to another consortium in Abu Dhabi. But they pretended it was still a bank in Uganda.
So wait,
Even this judgment supports us
Wait.
that they had already been wound up.
wait a second, Prof. So when Nzei and the team sold your bank,
Yes.
the buyers, the Kenyan brothers, also sold the bank?
No, first of all, the Kenyan brothers said this bank is not making any money. National Bank of Commerce. And obviously it was being run by a man who is half educated. Mzee, I can understand. Here in Uganda, because of the assistance he gets from government, he owns Coca-Cola,
Pepsi.
he owns Hot Rock, he's a big man. But internationally, he's nothing. That's what Uganda has become to. So when they,
Bought.
no, when the Kenyans said we don't want it, they wanted $11 million. So
They
the
wanted-
Tamangalo now comes in.
Temangalo. That's
Temangalo. Nzei, we have never known whether he owned it or not. But he and he persuaded, what's his name? He persuaded Mama Mbabas that they want 11 million to buy Kagezi Bank of Commerce and turn it into National Bank of Commerce. That's how Tamangalo comes in. Then later it was discussed, Zay doesn't own. And they said, however much you value Tamangalo land, whether it is 2 shillings or 1 billion, for us we think it is worth $11 million. That's what we want you to
That's
give.
what the Kenyans.
Yes. Then NSSF comes in. You see things connect. And why is Kanyahamba leaving? Is to put in the T's and the I's. They borrow that money from NSSF, which was being managed by another Mnyakigezi, I don't know whether he has shares. And he just agreed without any security. That's part of the reason the management of NSF, that man is in trouble. He connects with Tamangalo, Kigezi Bank of Commerce, and the
then National
Banyakigezi.
Bank of-
Yes.
Okay. So it's Justice Kanyahamba and 320 others versus Amos Nzei, Attorney General, and National Bank of Commerce as respondents. The quorum for now, the Court of Appeal, led by Justice Butera, that's the Deputy Chief Justice, your friend. Lady Justice Catherine Bamugamerere, also your friend who even attended your book launch 2019. Honorable Justice Christopher Gashirabake. The judgment, you said I read the first 2 pages. The first
Yes,
2 pages.
yes.
They begin with the background. This appeal arises from the judgment of David K. Wangutusi. Wangutusi in the High Court Commercial Division Civil Suit number 361 of 2010, issued on 10th September 2014. That alone, he spent 4 years in High Court.
Yes.
Okay. You spent 4 years in High Court, and then between High Court and the Court of Appeal, that's now 2014, over this 2020, over 7 years now.
7 years, yes.
Anyway,
It has been a cross to bear. But I am a very resilient and a patient person.
before we
That's why I have defeated the President Museveni on 3 occasions in legal battles.
before we leave, rather before we finish this, what is the longest time you have had a case yourself when you're still an active justice?
You mean in the case?
Yourself when you were managing a case, because here,
The shortest I have had when Chief Justice Wambuzi was our leader, and later when Justice Benjamin Odochi was our leader, is 1 day. They argue in front of you, and you see the other side has no case at all.
you dismiss.
You
or
say,
otherwise.
we shall give it just at lunch. We draft it during lunch, and we give it.
Haven't you had a
Why
case?
should you wait?
Haven't you had the case that has gone to 3-4 years when you were active as a justice?
I know one case which has been going on before the NRM came to power.
Before
Judgment has never been given. Chitariko was a man of the UPC. He was challenging
before
about
1986,
the election. Yes, that case has never been decided.
35 years.
Amin came in, no, it has not been decided. Then we came in with the NRM movement, and as far as I know, it
Up
has
to now.
never been decided.
So it's a trend now for
After about 5 governments.
40 years.
Yes, 40 years.
So that is the trend for Uganda's judicial system?
Yes, it is worse now. There is a man who wrote to the Chief Justice, Benjamin Odochi, and he said, when you pay the money, the right money, the lawyer whose client is paying is the one who drafted the judgment. Your opponent,
Drafts the judgment.
he drafts the
Gives it
judgment,
to the judges to
and
read.
the judge either reads it, or these days now, since
Which is
my
registrars and
challenge and Wavamunu challenge against the threat to the right to bail, Museveni withdrawing, and I thank him as a true Ugandan and a good president. And the court rules that he has won the case when he's no longer party to the proceeding because he has withdrawn, and then say, this is now thanks to Jessica Mugenyi and Elizabeth
and
Musoke.
Madrama. I think there was also Madrama in there.
Yes, saying President Museveni is above the law and is above God. Heavens, listen to this. He's above the God, our God, whom we believe in. I have written to all our religious leaders, including the His Grace the Archbishop of Uganda, His Grace Prof, the Archbishop of Rubaga, the Mufti of Kampala, and they have all said, they have remained silent.
But the ruling.
The only people who have denounced that judgment are the president of the Uganda Law Society, Awundo, the Bishop of Mbarara, and the Mufti of my area here, Machinje. Then you remember Ntagadi, when they went to celebrate the martyrdom of Ruhum, and the leader of the UPC then, it is disputed whether he's still the leader, Orara Otunu, stated that when President Museveni was going there to celebrate the martyrdom of Ruhum, Archbishop Ruhum, Ntagari was preaching. And when the motorcade of Museveni arrived in Guru by the cathedral, Ntagari abandoned the service and they went to welcome the priest. I saw him, he came here to see me once. And he denied. But the other people seem to support Oraro Tunu. So this is now our God. Because it's big, according to the ruling
of Madrama.
Yes, and the Gondantende, Museveni is now bigger than God the Almighty. because he's above him.
Okay, our
What
view,
kind of country is this?
we are
These people who pass this judgment, they should be arrested.
okay. Our viewers, we are breaking shortly for a minute, in fact, some seconds, and come back. Of course, as we come back, we'll go through the background as Justice Kanyahamba asked me to do, and of course,
And I want,
ask him,
could you do me a favor? Read what the lead judgment first wrote as a judgment. When you read the first 2 pages, you don't need to go any further.
Definitely.
You make a judgment. Because if you are saying this is illegal, this says he defied the court order. That's what the judge is saying.
that alone should do favor.
Yes,
the
yes.
appellant rather than
Then
the-
how
the
can you go
respondent.
forward? He won.
Okay, viewers, we're coming back shortly in half a minute, some seconds. We're coming back, digging deeper into the Uganda's. Of course, this ruling will also compel us to discuss the principle, of course, of hurried or delayed justice, and
Yes.
of course, which impact it leaves with the litigants and the entire society. Don't go away. We're coming back shortly. No man.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besige,
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk.
as he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Our viewers, welcome back. I'm still with Justice Kanyahamba. My name is Norman Tumhimbise. Like I said, we stream on our 3 platforms: the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV, Alternative Uganda YouTube channel. Those are 3 in 1, 3 different channels. Before we went for a break, Justice Kanyahamba had asked me to peruse through the first 2 or so pages where the gist of this whole ruling of this of the Court of Appeal stands, and this was made or passed by Christopher Gashirabake as the lead.
Gashirabake,
yeah, as
you
the
are
lead.
down banned to return to Kigezi with immediate effect. If I had the powers, you would disappear.
Okay, so
How could you be part of this judgment against your brothers and sisters and the grandparents? Are you really a judge or an imposter?
okay, the background herein, this appeal arises from the judgment of David K. Wangutusi in the High Court Commercial Division Civil Suit number 361 of 2010, issued on 10th September 2014. For emphasis, Justice Kanyahamba and others petitioned in 2010. They received that judgment in 2014, 4 years down the road. I am intentional in regards to the time, and of course this is also intentional to ask about the competence and how expeditious the judicial system in Uganda in particular is. Is it for the litigant, or they do things in accordance to what they feel.
Yes.
Okay, so he goes ahead to say, the appellant herein logged the suit in the High Court Commercial Division as shareholders of the Kigezi Bank of Commerce Limited, that's KBC, against the first to third respondents jointly and severally for their alleged involvement and perpetuation fraudulent transaction and dereliction of duty in respect to Kigezi Bank of Commerce as at 11th April 1997. The appellant's amended plaint was based in the High Court on the following facts. The appellant and the first to third respondents were shareholders of Kigezi Bank of Commerce Limited, incorporated under the Companies Act Cap 1110 on 23rd December 1991. Some of the appellants were fairly and duly elected and were directors of Kigezi Bank of Commerce. The first, second, and third respondents, purporting to exercise their duties to the exclusion of other directors, as
To the
directors,
exclusion of other directors.
underlining here,
Those are facts by the judges.
as the directors of Kigezi Bank of Commerce, KBC, or pretending that they had been authorized. Pretending. So those three we are pretending. That's of course they and
That's
others.
right.
Pretending.
That's right.
Pretending to be authorized by Kigezi Bank of Commerce to do so. To do so is of course to sell the bank. The bank. Conspired with.
Conspired.
Yes. Conspired with one other. With one another, and fraudulently constituted.
And the what?
Fraudulently.
And the fraudulently.
Constituted a fictitious company with the name of National Bank of.
Thank you.
With your bank, they made another bank within another
and
bank.
they call it the National Bank of Commerce. When ours was only Kigezi Bank of Commerce, and there were provisions it should never change.
Fictitiously constituted a fictitious company with the name of National Bank of Commerce, that's NBC, to which, despite the fact that it had been duly, despite the fact that it had been duly incorporated, transferred the business of Kigezi Bank of Commerce together with its assets and goodwill to diverse persons, thus causing a loss of business profit to and the reputation of Kigezi Bank of Commerce.
Thank you. So there,
That
the
alone.
case should have started, stopped. Therefore, National Bank of Commerce was illegal. They illegally transferred our assets and the shares to a fictitious company called National Bank of Commerce. The petitioners have won. You return their assets, their shares, and their name. Because the name would never have changed. So it should have ended there. But what they did, they had paid them very handsomely. The three judges. One of them is from Kigezi, like I do. But although I have been a judge, means of justice, I have never seen him. So he's just a crook who happened to be made a judge. Now, why would you go on?
That alone is evident enough.
That is evidence. Therefore, National Bank of Commerce is illegal, is unconstitutional, is fictitious. The end ends there. Kanyahamba and his fellow shareholders, people like Professor Suruma, Zezera, the late engineer family, they should get back their buildings. They sold our buildings in Kabari.
Yeah, all properties and
And
assets.
all went.
To the National Chamber of
Yes.
National Bank of Commerce.
Yes.
He goes ahead.
And then when they finished there on this point, they persuaded the bank by the director of the central bank was called Bajenda. She's a woman. Instead of doing what Chiriabwire, rather Dr. Chiriabwire said they should do, instead she became a director.
Is this the agenda of Bank of Uganda? Or it's
Yes, yes, that's the one.
she's that of so sagas are part of her because she was isn't she this woman who was she was in Bank of Uganda, that lady Bajenda. So I didn't know she's the one that was also in this other bank.
She's the one. She's the one. And I think she's at large now.
Yeah, actually, yeah, she is. Yeah.
She's the one who cooked the books. In English, they call it cooking the books.
So before we
So
reach,
she became a director, a shareholder of National Bank of Commerce, and then wound up with the Bank of Commerce.
Justice Kanyahamba. So literally, the Kenyan brothers, by of course with what is here, they did not buy. They were hoodwinked to buy National Bank of Commerce, trading in quotes as the Chigezi Bank of.
That's right. You are right. That's what they did.
So yeah, he goes ahead
It's
to
a
say,
scandal of the century in the banking and the betrayal. Nzei, Gijarashe,
Bajira-
you also feel you have betrayed your people. You are traitors. And I want you to take me to court for the defamation of character. Nzei, you are a traitor. The Bachiga who have been Nzei akaturezia. No mutemu akatulebi.
Okay, he goes ahead to say the first, second, and third respondents purporting to exercise the powers of directors of Chigezi.
Purporting, not
Yes.
exercising,
Yeah,
but
purporting.
purporting.
But where a judge realizes that so and so is simply purporting,
Pardon?
where a justice or a trial judge comes to the conclusion that so and so is simply purporting, that alone shows that this one is
Is a crook, is impersonating what he's saying, and he should
That
be
alone
jailed
So
for crime.
the first, second, and third respondents purporting to exercise the powers as directors of Kabare Bank of Commerce did without a general notice to the members of Kabare Bank of Commerce, Chigezi Bank of Commerce, but with the notice to only a few selected ones. So I think even if it were me, you would question why would one make a
Why you
selective...
don't inform the others? General meeting.
But with notice to only a few selected ones falsely and fraudulently. Yeah, and fraudulently.
That's what the judge is saying.
Represented to the registrar of companies and ipso facto to the general public that Chigezi Bank of Commerce had duly changed from being its former self.
It's a scandal of the century.
Its former self to being a new entity named National Bank of Commerce, and consequently altered Chigezi Bank of Commerce's name and the constitution, and also its several provisions, including subscription, classes of shares, and illegally dismissed the rest of the elected directors. Are you one of the dismissed?
I am the one of those who are dismissed. Yes, yes, yes.
They didn't consult
By
you
the
and
Kenya
then
brothers.
dismissed you.
Yes. And I was. I was dismissed.
The actions of the first to third respondents, to which the Attorney General acquiesced, were unlawful and prejudicial to Chigezi Bank of Commerce, to Chigezi Bank of Commerce's business and continued existence, and were calculated to benefit the first, second, and third respondents illegally, and for which the first to third respondents are liable to the plaintiffs and the Chigezi Bank of Commerce for loss sustained.
Yeah. That's the judgment should have ended there. Then he said, poured in more money to those judges.
In addition, the particulars of fraud attributed to the respondents.
Fraud, yes.
Attributed to the respondents. As,
that is in Zay,
yeah, and
the others.
And this Bank of Commerce.
That's right.
As pleaded were dishonest and illegal assignments of Chigezi Bank of Commerce's goodwill, together with its physical and intellectual property rights, to a non-incorporated body called National Bank of Commerce.
Nimia brand, you are really emphasizing the points of legalities, fraud.
Yeah, acts which the respondents knew or ought to have known to be false and illegal.
Yes. That is the finding of the court with G.
Court of Appeal, led by of course, Butera, your friend,
yes.
but also the lead, who made the lead judgment, Justice Chris.
They are both from Kigezi.
Justice Christopher Gashirabaki.
So you can see, without any doubt, the world you don't have to know. They were in the pocket of the Mr. Zaid. They both come from Kigezi, 3 of them.
Okay. Additionally, he adds dishonest and illegal alteration of Chigezi Bank of Commerce memorandum and articles of association for the purpose of unjust enrichment of the first correspondent,
yes,
the first respondent to the third respondent.
Yes.
Dishonest and unlawful alienation of the appellants from active control. Remember, it's you and others who had been dismissed as directors.
But can't you see? You see, for me, I always say, I'm a step ahead of many people. Initially, he's writing his judgments to favor me.
Yeah, of course, yeah. When you read it like this,
so something must have happened
in between.
A lot of money must have changed hands for him to do what he did afterwards. Because with that one, dishonest and unlawful alienation of the appellants from active control and management of Chigezi Bank of Commerce, calculated the benefits and calculated to benefit the respondents jointly and severally, and the said respondents took advantage of insider trading. Yes. There was inside trading. That's when they don't make sure in the judgment.
That by alienating Chigezi Bank of Commerce's assets to divert persons without valid authority from Chigezi Bank of Commerce.
That is the court, the same court findings, not mine.
It was contended that amended plaint that on account of the facts illustrated above, the appellant suffered damage and loss for which.
Remember, the High Court also well oiled. What you call his name? He said, "We lost nothing." How can you lose your bank, and lose the assets, and lose your building, and the judge comes and said, "We never proved we lost anything." Cut on the one.
The appellant sought the following declarations and orders: that the acts of respondents jointly and severally in disregard of the memorandum and articles of association of Chigezi Bank of Commerce since the 11th day of April 1997 were unlawful, fraudulent, and detrimental to Kigezi Bank of Commerce and to the economic interests of the bank and the appellants. That the purported transformation of Kigezi Bank of Commerce into National Bank of Commerce were fraudulent, unlawful, ineffectual, and a nullity. That the sale and distribution of the shares consequent upon the reported metamorphosis of Kigezi Bank of Commerce into National Bank of Commerce as of the 11th April 1997, which were done without regard to Kigezi Bank of Commerce's memorandum and articles of association, were fraudulent, illegal, and void. You also sought a declaration that National Bank of Commerce does not exist. The Kigezi Bank of Commerce repurposes all its property that had been unlawfully dispossessed of as a result of purported creation of National Bank of Commerce, and all profits made by National Bank of Commerce since then be paid over to Kigezi Bank of Commerce, with compound interest to the amount due. That the first to third respondents be held personally liable to make good any loss suffered by Kigezi Bank of Commerce and refund any and all profits made since the purported flotation of National Bank of Commerce.
Those were our prayers.
Yeah. The decision, maybe I read the decision, I don't know, the decision of High Court may not be, should I precisely read the decision of High Court? You mind, or we now,
Pardon?
do I read this brief decision of High Court, or we have now, or rather we now dive into the...
No, we have really done enough.
Okay.
But
So
in my view, as we shall negotiate, I would like, please, I'm begging alternative Digitalk, because you are our neighbors also, this one to advise me how we can saturate this judgment throughout the world, so that these people are condemned internationally. I want also to insist on behalf of 320 Onyakigezians to ask the government of Uganda. We supported him in the elections. I didn't personally, but others did. To set up a commission of inquiry into the whole judiciary of Uganda, the Ministry of Justice.
Which is led by your friend.
Yes. It should be done that way. I met a judge over the weekend, and what he revealed is impossible. On condition of rather anonymous, so I don't reveal his name, he said, if you reveal my name, I'll be killed by accident. We don't know whether all these people who have died in this government or by natural causes, but we shall speculate. I said I only know 12 judges in the whole country who are innocent and principled. They included people like the retired Chief Justice Wambuzi, retired Chief Justice Odochi Benjamin, retired the Chief Justice Katurebe, although politically he's a cadre for other reasons, and two others I mentioned who don't want to be named. Then I said, what about you? This is a serving judge. He said, you are lucky. I said, why? For me, I only know 4 judges.
For you know 12?
Only 4.
For you know 12, for him he knew.
I
Sorry, he
knew
knows.
12.
For him he knows.
Throughout the country, for him, he
knows
knows only 4.
And he's serving justice.
Yes. And obviously, those 4 are not those who signed this judgment.
And anyhow, so let's go back now into the depth of this.
Yes.
I think for me, our interest is about the delayed justice as in itself. You petitioned in 2010. You spent 4 years in a high court. You've spent over, I think, 7 or so in the Court of Appeal. And then, of course, if your case as a former Supreme Court judge can be delayed that
and the former
long,
Minister of Justice and the former Presidential Advisor
on human rights.
on human rights.
If your case can take
Take
13
that long.
years, what about now your people in Chigezi, in Kabale? And of course, but I also wanted to ask you something that confuses also our viewers, is on who determines who drafts the lead judgment. I had thought that since this matter was before the Court of Appeal, it was automatic that the Deputy Chief Justice, Justice Butera, would be the one leading the panel.
I entirely agree with you. What you have forgotten is the recently alleged statement by the Chief Justice of Uganda, Alfonso Doro Owini, being interviewed by a very seasoned reporter by the name of Derek Chionga. You must find it. It was in the New Vision or in Monitor. And the Chief Justice Odoro is saying that judgment of Kanyahamba by Egundantende and 4 others is unlawful and is unenforceable. So Derek asked him why. He said it's judges who hear a case must themselves deliver the judgment. Don't just throw it to anyone who was not a party. The clients, rather litigants, want to know that the judge who had the judgment is also the same one who delivered the judgment. And when they question the authenticity and the importance of that judgment, they should know that it is the man who or woman who had that judgment who delivered it. That is essential. The Chief Justice of Uganda has so defined. The judgment has been condemned by the President of the Uganda Law Society, the current one. They call them Senior Counsel Ounde. It has been condemned by the Archbishop, by the Bishop of Mbarara, Archbishop of Mbarara, as satanic. When I went to the movie, he was not there at the old Kampala. His assistant was there. And he said, oh God, you mean Uganda has reached that stage? That's why I'm here with the mercy of God. That I warn Ugandans. Justice today is for the highest bidder. If you pay more money, you get justice. If you are higher in the government than anyone else, you get justice. All the rest of Ugandans, I'm warning you with as loud a voice than ever before. And I am guided, not singing it myself. Justice in Uganda has disappeared forever. Unless you do something in 226 and change the way we are governing. If you think Museveni will continue with us, it's a joke. Because Museveni is tired. He has done a lot, more than I have done. Therefore, he's exhausted. He can no longer help us. I hope FDC meeting is today or
Yeah, it
tomorrow.
is something I wanted to also ask you about.
Yes.
There are lots of...
I hope it will come up
there are lots
with
of
the
things
clear
that are-
answer. But at the moment, I want to repeat, in the area of governance, there is a vacuum today.
If I may ask precisely, anyway, maybe let me first give you, let's first make some bit of a background. What is so far eating up FDC? Literally, they are talking about the Secretary General. And in the government that you served, the NRM, sorry, you served the movement, not the NRM. Later alone, we saw Honorable Bobi'S also having issues with his boss, the Secretary General. As such, the president, in his wisdom, and perhaps for purposes of avoiding such conflicts, he considered with his team to amend the constitution, NRM constitution, so that the Secretary General of their party is simply appointed, not through the general elections like his president. There were the same issues between, I think, Obote 2, I think Obote 1 rather, if I'm not mistaken, between him and Grace Ibinjira, also your friend. Later alone, he had issues and he was replaced by Kakonge, I think, I'm forgetting the other name, John Kakonge. We are seeing now conflicts also in FDC, also running around the Secretary General, that's Honorable Nanda Damafari. The precise questions here for you are, one, what is the problem with the Secretary General, with the Secretary Generals of political parties? Do they have so much powers? Do they?
You see, Museveni, we never gave him any powers except as advised in the military by the Army Council, in justice
Parliament.
by the Judicial Service Commission, in teaching by the Teaching Commission, in every department by a designated and empowered body. He has ignored all that. He now appoints judges whom he wants to be appointed. He appoints general head of the army whom he wants to appoint, and so on and so forth. So those of us who are committed to Christian go back to the administration of Jesus Christ, whom we regard as a God. He appointed Judas Iscariot, and he betrayed him. Similarly, in Uganda, we have been betrayed by every official we empowered to take decisions and implement them. Much more dramatically and frequently than just Jesus encountered when he was a human being on earth. So unless we do things dramatically, Museveni will never change. Since we came to power in 1986, he has ignored every caution we put in place, every law we enacted, and constitutional clauses we promulgated in order to have his way. So today it is not the judges that the Judicial Service Commission recommends to be appointed. It is Museveni's own judges. It is not the justice that judges should have been delivering today. It is their tainted character and integrity that is issuing orders and rules. That's what has happened to this country. Because I don't know why you keep quiet. The General Muhoozi, Kainerugaba was a friend of mine. I now regret his death. If he was around, although he was not a politician,
Who?
General Kainerugaba, the late Kainerugaba, the uncle of the current General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, he was called after his uncle. If he was around and they gave advice to President Museveni, if this man, you don't know him, I know him, General Salim Saleh, in many respects, particularly with governance, he's a very brilliant fellow. But the current governance does not trust him. So he's there like on Akatebi wood. I believe that Mrs. Museveni, who now everybody calls First Lady, and we, Banyakigezi, you know who they are, think to be called First Lady means your husband has got many women. He calls wives. Janet, why don't you listen to me? You wrote to me once saying I was your true friend because I called you honorable, being a minister of Karamoja. Others called you First Lady. I have the writing here. You wrote when we were graduating students at Kampala International University. Why have they kept silent? Jesus said, put everything in the open. I want you to comment on this point. My friend Janet Museveni, what do you think people calling you First Lady when the Banyatara think that means that your husband, to my knowledge, has no only you as wife, has got many wives. Comment on it. I challenge you. Comment on the First Lady. When it first appeared, the President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, cautioned us, members of the cabinet, why do they call my wife First Lady? Has she got anything other women don't? That is your own husband.
Okay.
And he concluded, the only people who say First Lady are the Americans. Why are Ugandans aping Ugandans? And I don't want this to continue anymore. He was in warning cabinet. Thank you.
Okay. Now, about, did you ever hear any, I don't want to push you into sharing something that could be extra confidential, but could you have known about the cause over the conflicts between Mama Mbabazi as Secretary General and, of course, both are your friends, and his boss, the president, Mr. Museveni?
What I heard is that Museveni, I don't know the word to use, doesn't respect or belittles everyone that works with him. You know my policies, my work I have done to this country. But when I mentioned her, Honorable Janet Museveni, is one of her relatives is my neighbor, as you know. When we met there, he said, the problem with you, Kanyeihamba, we wanted to advise you correctly, but you refuse our advice. I assume she meant the president and herself. Now, I want you to think very seriously, and there is no answer to this one. Who should be advising who? Should Janet be the one advising me, or should be I
Advising him.
advising her? That tells you that in our system, they follow Museveni's philosophy, which he announced. They have done those things which they should not do, and have done those they are prohibited from doing. Rather, they have done those things which they are not supposed to do, and they left those things they ought to do.
So, in your view, they do in accordance to what the president wants. That is all. They are.
But if you read I am going to give you a copy. It's called. There are two copies I'm giving you today before you go. I have finished them. They are ready to go on the market. One of them has Kanyahamba, rather President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, I have known since the 1960s. I am 83 now. He's only 2 years behind me. He's 81. Whatever it is they tell you. The other book is Kanyehamba's Lamentations. You must read both to know what I am, what kind of man. I hope Betty or David.
You will get it after.
Yes, afterwards I'm trying to prepare them. Now, President Museveni recently said, in accordance with my publications, that he's going to fight once again corruption. He has been fighting it every year, every year. He gives a statement in Parliament, which we call State
of the Nation address.
That's right. But in practice, nothing happens. The corruption remains there. Give you an example. One of the ministers is being persecuted. But the man or the woman is still in the office. One of them was censured
By the way, you remember who
by the resolution of Parliament.
and it died there. Like,
That is Uganda for you today.
and no one questions, like no one bothers to even ask. It's I think
Kanyahamba brothers.
your few of
That's
you,
why I
your
continue
few of
with.
you. I
You
wonder
are
why,
right.
Like
You
it's like
would
a joke.
expect Chiza Besije and the Kanyahamba occasionally appear in the media, condemned these actions, advised the powers that be to do things the right way. But what has happened to other politicians? People like Amudiyite.
We are that one. He has troubles. We shall talk about. I thought you put on Bulutu.
For me, I said during the nomination of last election, his full shoes was removed. He walked bare feet, and for me, I see he must be still looking for those shoes. With their replacement, he abandoned the political act. He never says anything. Muntu occasionally comes in and says something, and many politicians are not impressed. At one time in this program, I said, if you know the sensitivities of Ugandan voters and politicians and what symbols mean, you don't call your party aunt auntie.
You're the ones who make
When
fun.
your greatest opposer is an elephant.
But you're the ones who make fun of his party. The party is Alliance for National Transformation. Now for you simply get the letters and make it.
When you go to my Kawale constituency, so now we're a district, ask people, what does aunt, A-N-T mean? You guys, they don't know anything. They know it is a small insect which eats sugar.
So
that is it.
In our remaining minutes, Prof, one, in your view, because I am sure as the day follows the night that you have followed the sequence of events at Najanankumbi.
Yes.
From I think some good days, there have been lots of stories, press conferences at Katonga Road by Dr. Besigye and the team, then Semujunganda at Zambia Sharing Hall. A day I think later, I'm sure you must have watched that Chairman Virigwa alleges that he was kidnapped and held hostage in the headquarters. I had to jump over the fence, and then some media.
He said that.
I mean, the clip is there, him jumping over the fence from the headquarters, literally where he chairs. He's the chairperson. That's most likely the topmost office in the hierarchy of FTC. The media people were beaten at the headquarters. There has been lots of, fracasy, for lack of another word. Today, of course, the team led by Semujunganda, the spokesperson of the party, when they held their conference at Zambia Sharing Hall, one of the key words is that they are accusing the Secretary General and the party president for having received money. In their view, which money is yellow money? So it's yellow money. And then people keep asking, if you have followed this, all these events, who do you think is eating FDC? Is it eating itself? It has become a cannibal and, it is eating itself? Or there is another foreign cannibal that is eating up FDC?
I think, in my opinion, and I don't have scientific evidence to support me, they are being eaten by the NRM party.
So you're
Doesn't nothing they would know. Who has silenced Amriyat? We have had a president in West Africa who have been campaigning against the ruling party for nearly half a century. But recently, in his last go, he was appointed. He was elected president.
I think you mean...
who says that trying to be president for 3 or 4 times is a crime? It is not.
So in your view, Dr. Besigye shouldn't have gone. Is that what you're trying to say?
Pardon?
In your view, Dr. Besigye shouldn't have left the party for other people?
No.
What do you mean when you say that it's okay for someone to contest more than 4 times?
My problem with... because when you contest and lose, you stay a private citizen. you don't go into power. So for me, this Amriat, sorry, abandoned his responsibility.
I'm Moriat, the FDC president.
Yes. My friend whom I voted for in the last elections, Bobby Wine, I think has failed to control his own party. The reason I voted for him is not because I thought he would make the best president, because I thought he would act on the advice of the Kabaka of Uganda and the Katikiro of Uganda, who are very clever people, especially seeing he had been supported in his bid for the presidency by so many millions of Buganda kingdom. That's the sole reason. But today,
Why do you say he has failed to control his party? Before we finish with Amoliat, why do you think Kyagulanyi has failed?
I may be wrong, but I saw information that he or his close associates are accusing the leader in the parliament of ousting his powers. What is the leader of the opposition in the parliament?
Honorable Matthias Mpuga.
Yeah, Matthias Mpuga. I have seen one of his supporters, NUP supporter, accusing me and Museveni as worse than
HIV and
HIV, corona,
corona
and
combined.
Ebola combined. My friend whom I supported, Bobby Wine, has said nothing. At least when Museveni sees people abusing his close associates and friends, including me, by the way, although I don't support the NRM policies, NRM party, he makes a statement. When he heard that I had been illegally abducted from here and taken to Luzira, and the idea was to declare me that I was incompetent, rather I was mentally deranged, he sent his own doctor, President Museveni, to say if Kanyahamba is okay, your exam is okay, I want those who have arrested, I directed them, I ordered them to return him home. He did. Then later he said, Kanyahamba is a patriot, but he spoils my politics. He can distinguish between friends' comments and those who are not, he calls enemies. His definition of enemy is no more than is my opponent.
Okay.
Yes.
So, in your view, NRM is eating FDC. That's what you are saying. I want to conclude in the.
No, I want to say this.
The question was who's eating FDC? What is eating FDC?
No, for me, if the UPC is what it is, but if it is correct, the other leaders have been found wanting. I want to state that there is no law or any moral reason why they should not restate Chiza Besigye as their leader in this conference. Yes, there is nothing wrong, moral, legal, or political, which stops them saying, Chiza Besigye, we replace you, but we seem to have failed. Come back as our leader. I would be very happy.
Okay. I want you to use the next, I think, 3 or 4 minutes. Perhaps we shall spare some other questions of what I want to ask you about for maybe some next time. We have had, I wouldn't want to say from rumors, because you have told me in person that on the 31st spend 2 minutes because we are we are running out of time, and tell us what it is.
Yeah. Friends of mine have suggested that when I become 84, so it's a very old age, even by African standards, it is something really that should be celebrated by all my friends throughout the world. And therefore, the Diocese of Uganda, in the authority of the Bishop of Uganda, Ndamirembe, have agreed to hold a Thanksgiving service to my life and the service to this country and the world, and in particular to the Kingdom of Uganda. I'll not go into details. On the 31st day of December this year, we are already started planning and making arrangements for the occasion. The Bishop of Namirembe will be the main celebrant, but we are calling other bishops, my bishops from the West, and all my friends will be there, including you and all the other members of the Digital Alternative, where I hope you excel in your profession, and we can produce thereafter many videos and DVZ to sell to the whole world, with you getting a percentage. This is in planning now. I will produce more of my books. Some will be here. This house, when God calls me, I will be buried in this ground. The people of the Kabaka, to whom this land belongs, have graciously agreed that I will be here permanently, because this has been my happy home. The Sabasaja, I have been his man, and he's been happy to host me. They have not responded yet, but I have invited him to be the chief guest on that occasion. 31st December 1923. I am not supposed to have revealed this, but you have tricked me in saying it. If Sabasaja is not pleased by my disclosure, but Sabasaja, decide the way you want, because there are other alternatives you can give me, who can preside as guest of honor. The reason I have done this, let the country knows, I have been contacting the office of our president to be the chief guest and his dear wife, Honorable Janet Museveni. I don't get an answer. I have called the office responsible. There is no answer. I have called my friend, who is also a director of my property, Joanna Kategaya. She said she will try, but that today she has not failed. But in order to get many people come to my Thanksgiving service at Namirembe, I need to contact them now, because this is immediately after Christmas. Many Ugandans get home to their villages in Rukunjiri, in Kotido, and Sese. So I need to contact them now to say I am inviting you to this Thanksgiving ceremony. That's why I must get answer of the people who are going to participate. I have already got the answer of one of the main, if not the main speaker, Ruhakana Rugunda, the former Prime Minister. He's agreed. I have already contacted Professor P.L. Lumumba, the greatest orator, legal orator in Africa today, who is also my lawyer, to give a speech on that day. He has agreed. We have called one of the most well-known campaign in human rights, I think you know his name, from Ghana, and he said he will come. But the Ugandans, I don't know what's the problem with them.
They will confirm.
Apart from the Kawaka's office, which called and said they are considering the application, rather the invitation, no one else in Uganda, apart from Ruhakana Rugunda and Mbabasi.
What about Digitalk? Has a Digitalk confirmed?
But you are the one. I have already said you are going to even broadcast the whole system at the church, and hopefully wherever we are going to have dinner.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Comrades, ladies and gentlemen, allow us close now. By God's grace, we shall have him next time. Of course, to dig deeper into other pending issues, also in particular about his Thanksgiving and so many other events or any other issues that might arise as we move along. May you keep it Digitalk. Catch you anytime and follow us for purposes of building the nation and good governance.
Thank you very much.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.